It's not just balloon crashes like the rough landing we saw last month that keeps the ER medical staff at Balloon Fiesta Park on their toes. In fact, you might be surprised at some of the reasons most patients pay them a visit. News 13's Crystal Gutierrez reports.
They come bundled up from head to toe wearing sweaters, some even wrapped in blankets, prepared for just about anything. But ER doctors say some visitors in this crowd may not be ready for what Albuquerque has to offer, and they don't know it until they're forced to come here.
Sometimes people are like, I'm feeling dizzy, I'm feeling weak, and they're asking for an explanation.
ER Dr. Lance Wilson says dozens of people fill these beds any given day of Balloon Fiesta. Some come with minor scrapes, bumps, and bruises, but what the volunteer ER staff has gotten used to treating is altitude sickness.
We see a lot of elderly that have a lot of altitude issues. They come from sea level.
People that come from other places aren't necessarily ready for being at 5,000 feet.
It may not seem like much, and the ER staff says the symptoms are typically very minor. Still, for years, each day the balloons launch or glow at night, Albuquerque visitors will make their way to the ER clinic behind Vendor Row, thinking their shortness of breath is something more serious. They're checked out, given oxygen, and an explanation.
A lot of times they kind of look and now that makes sense. You know, they don't always think about it.
But Dr. Wilson says high altitude is not the only culprit in New Mexico.
They don't always think about it, but the climate's so dry here that a lot of people will get dehydrated.
They saw that the first morning of Balloon Fiesta when one woman was rushed in.
One lady, in fact, was so dehydrated that we put an IV in her and gave her some IV fluids.
Crystal Gutierrez, KRQE News 13.
The Balloon Fiesta ER staff says one difference between Balloon Fiesta's ER and an actual ER is how friendly Fiesta visitors can be. The ER nurse says a 70-year-old man who fell and dislocated his arm had his arm pop back into place. Instead of leaving, he smiled and asked to go back onto the field.